Hello, Canada. My name is Jason Stoddart, and I'd like to present to you a vision for a new Canada. Come on, Canadians, let's get together and let's create a new Canada, a better Canada. Canada now has the fastest growing homeless rate in the world. Yep, it's true. Look it up. I didn't believe it. Roughly 4.7 million Canadians are living in a state of food insecurity. And food insecurity means they don't have access or the money to buy fresh foods. The root cause of hunger in Canada is low income, which consistently affects more than 4 million Canadians at any given time, which is about 10% of our population. Each month, over 850,000 people have to go to food banks to get help. More than a third of those people are children and youth. That's pretty sad. We should be asking ourselves, why is this happening? Canadians pay a whopping 42.5% of their income in taxes. Last year, Canadian families spent more on taxes than on life's basic necessities, and that includes housing. I think it's time this changed, don't you? I think it's time we turn the tables on this whole upside down system. If you think about it, modern slaves, they're not in chains, they're in debt. Our country's in debt, our province is in debt, the citizens are in debt. A government which lays taxes on the people that are not required by urgent public necessity and sound public policy is not a protector of liberty. It is an instrument of tyranny. It condemns the citizen to servitude, and that means it condemns us to be slaves to the system, to go to work, to give your paycheck to the government, and do that over and over and shut your mouth. Is that what you want? It's not what I want. Now we have a carbon tax coming in, which we don't even get to vote on, and the government will now be taxing a tax. How is this even legal? Trudeau is giving away hundreds of millions, and I would say billions, to some of the most corrupt dictators in the world. But Omar Khadr gets 10.5 million of our tax dollars. Why are we importing $17 billion a year in foreign oil when we have the third largest oil reserve in the world? I smell a scam. They're making changes to our justice system that isn't good for the public. Check them out. Our border has become a valet service for illegal crossers. The RCMP pick them up, drive them to a hotel, and the government stuffs money into their pocket. All the while, soldiers and veterans cannot get the benefits that they were promised. Even the courts are siding against them. This is shameful. The number of homeless pensioners is the highest it's been for a decade. I think that's telling you something's wrong. I think it's telling us Canada is broken. When we have Canadians who are living in a tent and they're being evicted from a park and they have to go live in the woods, and we are welcoming illegal border crossers, putting them up in hotels, giving them money, healthcare, medicine, something is very, very wrong. And Trudeau now has 4 ethics violations, but no punishments. And that's showing one law for them, another law for us. This needs to change. And looking at our healthcare system, it's pretty obvious it's in need of more beds, more doctors, nurses, and staff. If you've had the privilege of being there, you would see they're doing the best they can with what little they have. The aging of Canada's population, the baby boomers, is expected to have a major impact on the country's economy, society, and healthcare system over the next 25 to 30 years. And that just means it's going to cost a lot more money. If you think the wait times are long now, well, you can just imagine what they're going to be like in the coming years. They're just going to get longer and longer. Where is the money going to come from to fix these issues? Well, I can tell you the government's looking at us, at our bank accounts, and what's in our pockets. so they can steal more money. All the while, Trudeau earmarks billions of our tax dollars for overseas projects while Canadians plead for his help. We're going to get buried in taxes unless we find a better way to generate tax revenue. Seriously, Canadians, we need to find a better way to generate tax revenue, and there is a way. And it's time we turn the tables on the tax man. It's time we turn the tables on this political system. It's time we do something about homelessness and hunger in Canada. Canada is a prosperous nation, and we should not be having people that are homeless and hungry. And it's time for the rest of us to stop being slaves to this upside-down system. A new Canada is a vision for a more citizen-centered government. Doesn't that make sense to you? Should the government not be focused on the citizen? The citizens of the country should be the ones to decide what goes on in their country. I think that just makes sense. Does it make sense to you? Our current form of democracy is called elected representation. And since 1867, we've gone back and forth between the Liberals and the Conservatives at least 17 times. For 152 years, Canada has been run using elected representation. But democracy isn't just elected representation. But you won't hear what the options are, because that will put the power back into the hands of the people. A definition of democracy. Democracy is government being exercised by the people, either directly or through elected representatives. Democracy is majority rule. Democracy is the principles of social equality and respect for everyone. Doesn't seem to be the way it is now. Government being exercised by the people, either directly or through elected representatives. We do not have to keep using elected representatives. We also have the choice to have a direct democracy or a form of direct democracy. And having a direct democracy in place, it will certainly give Canadians far more control over their tax systems. It'll give them more control over the way their tax money is being spent and just given away, which I hope we stop doing. Canadians will have a direct say in all aspects of how our government is run. Our laws and our culture will truly reflect who Canadians really are, because we'll have a direct input. Now, if we're to have direct democracy or a form of it, we really need to have online voting. Getting everybody to vote is essential, and making it easy will help facilitate that. Imagine whipping out your phone and being able to vote. So let's recap a bit of what we said. Canada has the fastest growing homeless rate in the world. Look it up if you don't believe me. Almost 1 million Canadians have to go to food banks, and over 300,000 of them are children and youth. It's going to cost us billions and billions of dollars to address these issues over the coming years. And if all that wasn't enough, Trudeau goes and says that Canada has no core identity. Well, I disagree 1,000%. Canadians are known around the world. And I see many that would disagree with that statement. Men and women went to war, and they fought to keep Canada free. These people volunteered to go to war. You will never see a braver face. We need to be watchful for the erosion of our rights and freedoms that those men and women went to war for, and many died. Now we have this M103, anti-Islamophobia motion. Well, this is how it all starts. This is chipping away at our Charter of Rights and Freedoms. We have the right to freedom of expression. This tries taking it away. In a direct democracy, Canadians would be voting on issues like mass immigration. I would sure like a vote on that. Foreign aid, the United Nations, and everything else that affects our country, which in turn affects us. You know, it only takes 250 people and some paperwork to start a registered political party in Canada. Why wouldn't we have a party that benefits us instead of benefiting who's ever in charge? We can make a difference, but we have to do it together. Please become a registered member. It's free. I'm not asking any money. I just want people to sign up, get the word out. Because it's not just NDP, Liberals, Conservatives, Greens. Any political party can be elected into power. So how about we go out, create a party, and let's vote ourselves a raise, because the politicians sure do it. Let's compare some oil revenues between Norway and Alberta, Canada. And all these numbers are approximate. So Norway is pumping out about 1.48 million barrels of oil per day, and Alberta puts out about 2.3 million barrels of oil per day. Norway has free education all the way through postgraduate university. That's pretty nice. Oh, but Albertans, when they want to go to college and university, it comes out of their pocket, and it's expensive. After just 23 years of oil revenue, Norway has over $1 trillion saved in a government fund. That's 1,000 stacks, and each one of those stacks is $1 billion. That's a lot of money. Alberta's provincial debt, well, it'll be over $70 billion in a couple years. And after 40 years or more of pumping oil, Alberta has just $17.2 billion saved. That's just 0.017% of what Norway has saved. And if you take out the debt, their provincial debt, they're almost $54 billion in the hole. Do you see something wrong with this picture? I think Canadians are getting ripped off royally. How about we ask ourselves, where did all the trillions of dollars go? Out of our oil fields, out of our natural gas fields, out of our lumber? Seriously, where did it go? What were all the previous governments doing while this was going on? Well, they were trying to figure out ways to tax you into poverty. Looks like they're doing a good job. What if Canada or Canadians followed Norway's lead and we created our own national oil and natural gas company? You know, we're going to be using gas, natural gas, and oil for at least the next 10 to 20 years. I think that's being genuine. So why are we pumping all those hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars into some company's pocket? Does it make sense to you? Because it doesn't make sense to me. How about we pump it directly back into our country? The profits will go directly into tax revenue. Does it make sense? Now think about it. How much gas and diesel is sold across Canada every day? So Canada has approximately 23.5 million cars on the road today. So let's do a guesstimate. Let's get a basic idea of maybe the numbers we're talking about. So if just 20% of those 23.5 million cars stopped and got $40 worth of gas at $1 a liter, that's $188 million gross profit every single day. Over 1 year, that'll be over $68 billion in gross tax revenue. Now, if we take that even a little farther out to 15 years, well, that will bring us over $1 trillion in gross tax revenue. Now, do you see how much money is being pumped into private oil companies' bank accounts? Billions and billions, if not trillions of tax dollars will be coming in year after year until we find a way to stop using fossil fuels. And with all that money coming in, we can certainly start funding research and development into alternatives to fossil fuels. It's time to find something that doesn't pollute. So I think we found the money that we need to handle some of these larger issues in our society without raising taxes. See, it's possible. Now, when it comes to affordable housing, it seems like there isn't any affordable housing because you go on a list for, I don't know, I've heard upwards of 8 years. So affordable housing has just dried up. Rent is skyrocketing. So it's time that we stop the ripoff of oil and natural gas resources, and it's time we start using them to benefit us. The Norwegians have done it. We need to catch up because they're making us look like fools. The next fixed election date is October 29th, 2019. Vote in favor of the citizen. So far, what are your options? Or at least, what are the options being presented to you? That's the liberals, the conservatives, NDPs. The bought and paid for media, well, they make sure that's the only choices you think you have. Well, Faith Goldy found out. She tried running against some of the bigger parties, and Bell refused to run her campaign ad on TV, and the judge says, well, too bad. And now Unifor is conscripting their journalists to re-elect Trudeau. And he just gave them millions of dollars. So we're going to have to think outside the box on this one because they're herding us like cattle. They are making sure we only see 3 major parties to vote for. And they're leading you and me down the garden path. They think they can dictate to us what they want done. You know, we've gone back and forth between the liberals and conservatives. Like I said, it's at least 17 times. Does anyone else see a problem with this? Going back and forth 17 times? This is the definition of insanity. And it's doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Do we honestly think this is working? No, it's not working. It's obvious it's not working. And guess what? It's not going to work the 18th time either. We are where we are because we've bounced back and forth this many times. Doing it one more time is not going to change anything. After 152 years of using elected representation, it's painfully obvious we need something else. This isn't working. The system is corrupt and it works against the citizen, not for the citizen. Because we have forgotten that we, the people, are the nation, not the people we elect. We need to take accountability for our actions and our future and the direction Canada is going. It's time to reboot this system because it is broken. It no longer cares for its citizens. It's constantly making laws against the citizen, against freedom, against the Charter of Rights. Please go to www.anuka.ca and become a registered member.